okay. A bit nervous, but let's finish then. We go fit talk.
That was inspiring.
See,
Anyway,
see, see.
so let's just get into it. Your problem for today, or what you are going to be designing, would be we are designing a web crawler to the
Okay,
idea, the system we are going to design is that we want it to automatically, sorry, look up the web by downloading web pages and also following any other links if possible to discover more content, right? So the the idea is that we are essentially trying to do a simplified version of what some search engines do to discover web pages, right? So we have like a system there that will give you a
Really, and I
few
think there was
URLs, and then from there, the
another
crawler
couple of
we are going
yards
to
that he
design
could have
should
gone
just
before he
visit
went
those
off.
pages, extract any other contents from those pages. If there are some links in the pages we extract, just follow those links, and then the process just goes on. And I don't know, does it make sense to you?
yeah, makes sense. Makes sense.
Perfect.
Okay. So, um, please don't kill me. Okay. Um, so we are designing a web crawler. Got it.
Yes, please.
So I think first thing first, what what um what will be our function functional requirements, right?
Okay, sure. So, um, like I previously mentioned, right, the idea is for you to so assume that you've been given a set of URLs, right? Now, one thing
Yeah.
that we want this web crawler to do is to just crawl the web starting from this given set of URLs. That's like
Okay.
the baseline thing that we want it to do, right? So just crawl the web, right? Exactly. And then the second thing would be to just the extraction bit of it, right? To extract the text data from each web page and then you know
Okay.
put it somewhere.
Uh, and okay, and further crawl if there are other
There are other links
links.
in that
Okay.
web, right? I don't want
Okay.
you to worry about how you are going to process the data you would extract and any other non-text data like images, videos, dynamic content. We don't really care about it. Just let's focus on text.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. So from what I've gotten so far, first we want to crawl using some CDRLs, which is like the first thing, and then we, from whatever data we get, we extract our text and other links. We go further. Um,
Right.
okay. Is my screen still being shared? It looks like it's stuck.
It is still being shared. Can you move your cursor across so that we see? Yeah, we can see. I'm not
Okay,
sure
it means
that is.
yeah, it means there's a problem in my display. That's fine. I just continue. Okay. So for the functional requirements, do these? I mean, I'm starting with these two, but do they suffice for you?
Yes, they do. As and when any other need comes up, you are free to modify them as and when you see fit.
Okay, perfect. So for our non-functional requirements, we would want to make sure that um, when there are duplicate links, we don't have like I don't call it circular, like circular crawling. So you crawl this one leads to the next, and that next is actually the first one. So um, how would I put it? Mm, I don't want to call it consistency. The
Just assume that um, the CDROs you have been given are all unique, right? So this thing
Okay.
wouldn't that's something that's
So I'm talking of like after the CDRLs,
right,
when we go into further links on the pages we scrape,
right.
we want to make sure we don't keep scraping the same set of three URLs, although there are other things you're supposed to be scraping. Yep.
I mean, you're free to do that.
Okay.
That don't worry about it. To be honest, for the purpose of this part, yeah, don't worry about it.
Okay. Um. mm, mm, okay. So for hmm, uh, I'm blanking on my non-functional requirements right now, but
I
uh,
want the the crawler to be able to handle failures, properly. So things like timeouts, server errors, and any other failures in general. We should
okay.
be able to handle them without losing progress. If we're in the middle of scraping something and then or crawling something and an error happens, we should be able to handle those errors and resume crawling without losing progress. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Um. Yeah. Out of progress. Um.
The next thing I want,
And
go ahead.
yep. No, no, please.
Okay, so we also want to pay attention to skill. So um, let's just say your system should also be able to support, let's say, 3 billion URLs and also be able to crawl across, let's say, multiple machines, right? So distributed crawling, if you want to add that. But I just want you to be able to handle about 5 billion, 3 billion, right? Okay, 3 billion, 5 billion
Okay.
URLs.
3 billion euros. All right. Cool. So same thing here. I would just want to move along so I don't stay on the non-functional requirements. But if
All right,
anything comes up, I would add them
no
in.
problem.
Um, so this I don't think this would be it wouldn't be a user-facing application or anything to be clear, right?
Yes, you're right.
We are okay. So most of the users of this would be probably maybe some startup search engine or something or some other search engine.
In our system somewhere,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Okay. So let me just get some entities in. I don't think we'll have so much to do with uh, entities. Mm, ugh, Jesus Christ. So our core entities, we will need to keep track of URLs. That goes without saying. And um, I think that will mainly be it because we crawl a page, we get URLs, we store those URLs, we know those are the next URLs we are supposed to be picking. And yes, so for now, just I think our core entities would be like URLs. Um, yeah. Not too much API design here. Data flow. I think I'll talk about the data flow when I'm going along. Okay, okay. So first and first, we know we will be having um some CDO. Let me see. Where should I? Just it's abc.com. Some Uh, right. So our first functional requirement is to be able to crawl the web, starting with some CDRLs. Okay. So uh, mm, um, I am just going to assume the web is just a giant, how would I call it? Mm, heh. Okay, so given uh given our CDRLs, first I don't should I be given the exact details? Do we need to go deep into like the details of the like the logic of the web crawler? Or
Yes, we do.
okay, that is hard. Okay, so we um let me see. So we've ooh, hmm, okay, I would okay, okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to think a bit, but
No
yeah,
problem.
so first first thing we are crawling. Um I'm assuming not assuming. So we are given like a list of URLs. So for each URL, we visit the URL and then we download some data.
Mhm.
I know you said we shouldn't worry too much about like the data that we will get or how we process it, but
Yeah,
just so we know. So definitely every URL will have like some HTML contents,
yeah,
and we wouldn't want to store that entire blob
yeah,
in like a database. So I mean, I'm going to make it out of scope, but I'm just going to like add um our blob storage for S3, the blob storage for like the HTML. Nothing to um. mm, Um, so for each of those things we scrape, the data we get, the entire blob, we send it to RS3. Then now the so I don't know if this suffices for crawling the web starting from some seed. Okay, you know what? For now, I'm just going to use this. So we crawl, we get content, we store that content. Um, Also, I said our core entity would be our URLs. So Just trying to follow what we have. Um, do we really need that? I don't think so. For now, I'm just my brain is telling me we don't need this, but I will I'll leave it here anyway. Have like a DB of our URLs. And okay, so we've so I'm not all over the place. Um, so we've taken care of crawling the web, starting from some seed URLs, but I want to add this in before we move any further. Um, we need to find a way of um, having like uh, script icon or whatever. Just so first thing is how do we even start the scraping? Although we have some CDRLs, we need to find a way of saying, okay, at this time, start the crawling or start the scrolling of those CDRLs, right? So we have that, we crawl, and then we do we need to start the URLs? Do we need to start the URLs? Do we need to start it? Um, so for our URL entity, we um we need like just an ID, and also since we might sorry we might have like maybe dynamic URLs and some might be static. Um, for the dynamic ones, we need to find a way of um, getting the last time we scraped. Okay, let's see. Last scroll on this and last scroll time. So for now, I'll just do these two. Okay. Uh, so also to satisfy the second one, which is to extract and call if there are other links. Um, let me see. Let me see. Ooh, how best can I do this? Mm, uh,
I was talking on mute, sorry. I was saying let me paint a scenario for you. Let's say I've given you a URL called wikipedia.com/music, right? That's one URL. Now,
yeah,
if your crawler is crawling wikipedia.com/URL and slash music on that Wikipedia page, right, they might also contain maybe a URL that points to, let's say, Shatawali, right?
yeah.
So I want you to, while you're scraping that music Wikipedia page, if there's a link that points to Shatawali, crawl that one as well. And if inside the Shatawali page too, there's a link that points to Sarkodie, right? Crawl that one. And it keeps going on and on and on. So there's not. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. It's I just need to. I'm trying to like put it in
Okay.
directly. That is why. Okay. So uh, you know what? So in the logic of like the web crawler, every time we extract our text and we find something that has like HTTP HTTP or something, we go in and scrape that that site, right? And not to start like premature optimizations here, but I would want to always keep track of what next to do. So um, uh, this is a bit messy, but this is I'm going to just do this for now. I don't know. We can have just like a simple queue, just so we can keep track of um, the URLs we found, the ones we've scraped, and where can I? No, no, no. Sorry. No, no, no. Mhm. Okay. So let me just write a bit of content. Okay. So just a bit of notes here, and mm, yeah, cool. Um, do these look okay for you concerning our first two functional requirements?
Um, how do you plan on extracting the text from the HTML? Um, because each URL contains like HTML content, right? But we need a text. So
Um,
have
so
something with
so from the jump, most of the things we are interested in will be links, and those links will m- most definitely start with like HTTPS. So considering the HTML content, we can find like um, specific A tags for containing like HTTPS and okay. I mean,
yes, but I meant, we are also we are extracting a text for use later somewhere, right? That somewhere is out of scope. So I'm asking not necessarily how you extract the links from the HTML. That's also one part, but since we are also storing the text, do you have like a strategy in place or
mm, currently, no, I do not have a strategy for that.
okay, no problem. Let's continue. It's fine, it looks fine.
Okay. I think I would still have that at the back of my mind. I should probably get something by by the end of the interview. So we want to handle failures properly without losing track of our progress. Uh, how can I I should be able to. Oh, sorry. Scrape. Let's say Boolean URLs. Okay. Um, First one should be able to handle failures properly without losing track of our progress. And please give me like 1 minute. I want to just. Mhm. Okay. How can we keep track of? Okay. So if we want to not lose track of our progress, we need to be able to um track where we are on, I mean, on each URL we pick. Uh, I don't know if. Hmm, 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 hmm. 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 Okay, I'm a bit stuck here. Um,
What do you need?
can you give me like a scenario of, okay, I'm just trying to think of like the handling the failures. So we are scraping the sites and we are not done scraping, and the scraper or the process that is supposed to be sorry, crawling doesn't finish and it stops. So okay. Um is is that like the scenario in your head, or what
Yeah, let's
you are
say
thinking?
um, we are scraping a Wikipedia page, right? And then Wikipedia servers go down, so suddenly there's no HTML content in that link. Now, when the server comes back up, I don't want you to restart scraping that page. You were in the middle of scraping or you're in the middle of crawling, right? I want you to continue where you left off. Does that make sense?
um yeah, yeah, it kind of does. Mm, funny tell us.
Don't even tackle it from a design point of view, right? I mean, off the top of your head, is there like anything you probably want to put in place, or how will you think about this? We don't want to, because the internet is just a jungle. Things go on and off every time, and we are looking at 3 billion URLs. So, tell me something. How do you just make sure that you don't start off if anything
um
happens?
okay, so one thing I'm thinking about is, for since we have like a queue of URLs you're supposed to be scraping, I'm thinking um we do like how do I say it? We give a certain window where with no, no, mm, that would be solving another problem. The other what I think I'm saying would solve the problem of not re-scraping the same site, which will be if we pick if we pick like a if we pick a URL and we are scraping and picking like the next URLs on that page, we want to make sure we don't do it forever. So we have like some given timeout um that we keep track of. But that is for something else. Uh, truly,
But so
truly.
we can think about this. Let's put this at the back of our heads and continue to the next one if you want to.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Okay. Uh, so for scraping the 3 billion URLs, we so obviously from the current uh diagram we have, we can't just be using a single instance of like the web scraper. So also I think the whole queue can help us in like keeping track of what is next and what has already been done. So uh, come on, YouTube. Yeah. So one thing would be doing like scaling our web scraper across. We can have like multiple instances of it that would be crawling at the same time, so we can be able to do things like in parallel and yeah, and take care of like a lot of URLs. Also for the storage of HTML content, we don't really need that because sorry, we don't need it, but we don't have to really care about it since S3 would really take care of that. Um, mm,
What do you mean S3 will take care of that? You mean
so
which scaling the
for
storage?
like yeah,
Okay, okay, okay.
for
I get it.
scalability of storage, we there's I mean from as you stated in the beginning, we don't really have to care too much about it, but yeah,
Yeah, okay.
um, I don't know my screen. I can't really see anything, so I heard something. I don't know if it's a hand up.
Interesting.
Uh, hmm. Ooh, I know that shouldn't be the only thing we do. Um, I'm seriously blanking.
You know, this is probably going to be like a network intensive thing. You can scraping a lot of things. Are we also looking at bandwidth? Do you have anything in place for that?
Hmm. Um, for bandwidth, yes. So I think for one of the things I'm thinking of is because for each URL we also have to like um get the exact oh actually that. So um, because for each URL we need to get like we need to get its equivalent IP, and doing the whole DNS resolution will also take time. What I'm thinking of, as you mentioned, like networking, is instead of always having to do the round trip the of getting our IP and knowing, okay, now we need to go to this IP and get the content from there. I'm thinking we have like um thinking of like a local DNS resolver. I don't know if that makes sense.
Go ahead.
So we so to reduce like the number of round trips, we every site we crawl and we know the URL or the IP already, we can just rather just okay, there's so much space on this thing and I'm pumping everything. Let me just uh sorry for the ugly diagram. Um mm, I don't know if these lines make sense. Yeah, so um in like a way to like reduce our like the pressure on the network is, yeah, to do like a local DNS resolution, so we know exactly where to go when we need to for things we have already scraped. Does that answer I mean, does that answer like a part of your networking?
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. So we can continue.
Okay, I still want to come back to this handle failures. uh mm, mm, mm. I mean, do you have any? I This is still on hold, the handling failures without losing track. But do you have any other like questions you would want to ask?
Sorry, can you repeat? I don't think I heard you.
Yeah, I was saying I know the handling failures is still on hold, but do you want to like ask any other questions? I'm
No,
still in the
I'm
process
good.
of
So we can continue.
okay. The
Do you have anything
continuation will
else you
be
want to add? How many minutes?
um, I can't really hear you.
Um, can anybody hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but it's a bit muffled. But yeah, we can.
Okay. You should bring it. It's just me.
Um, Um, I just wanted to add like one extra thing.
Okay.
So for since we so for like let's say we crawl one site and the content is the same as something, the content is still the same, hasn't changed. Um, One way I think we can do that is to actually uh what would be the right word? We do like a hash um the entire content we get. So if we are getting like the entire HTML file, we should it be hash? I think hash should it be hash? Yeah, we we hash the content and we compare it to some what we had already scraped. So let me just add a note. Uh, um, yeah, I can just put this anyway. Uh, yeah. Hmm. Oh, okay. Um, One last thing for the scaling. Uh, since we okay, since there will definitely be like URLs that are I don't want to call like let's say hot URLs or like URLs that are dynamic and we want to always get the freshest content. Um, I'm thinking we can uh I don't think it necessarily needs to be a cache, but for yeah, we can have like a cache of those URLs. Uh, mm,
So you have just a minute more.
yeah. At this point, I'm just trying to like add extra things I think can make scaling better. But yeah, not so fine. But I'm fine with
Okay, minutes is
what
generous, right?
whatever
Good.
yeah your verdicts will be.
Cool, no problem. So I think um this brings us to the end of our design session, right? Good work. And before we get into the or before I give my feedback, does anybody have some questions, comments, clarifications, contributions? If you've not eaten and you want to tell us to, tell us. But I want to hear your thoughts, everybody.
1 minute. I'm about to disconnect, so I would 1 minute. Let's see.
Okay.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay, so questions. Please go ahead.
Yeah, it's not really a question, but I think you mentioned earlier on that you wanted to find out, you wanted him to like include how he was going to crawl the information out of the site. It's there like a short brief, should I say, description of how that's supposed to be done? Was it mentioned or is it included in the diagram? That's what I want to know so I can use that.
Jerry.
I don't think I mentioned it.
Oh, okay, no problem, no problem.
I mean, uh, Savo, if you'd want to, I would be perfectly honest. I can think of how to extract the content we need. That's like the URLs, but any further thing, I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean,
Like
the
what
the
what it is.
URLs were not necessarily what we needed. We need the URLs for the extra scraping, right? So that if we see a URL on the page, we'll just enter that URL and then we will scrape URLs from that URL and etc. But initially, I mentioned that we need a text for like further processing, but let's not worry about that further processing. Some external they is somewhere. So the text we are storing, but then if the text has some URLs, we want to call those URLs as well. It's not the text. That was the initial idea, but it's fine. I mean, I think we'll come back to that later. Um, you're still on the hot seat, so if anybody else has questions, uh, we can go over them.
Sorry. Before Elias goes, are you going to like communicate your expectations for the question before like we go through it, then we submit our
Yes,
reviews?
and I think I will. Let's see what the future holds.
Sure, sure, sure.
Um, I think someone had their hand up. Yeah, Elias.
Yeah. So my question is, I'm curious as to what is the entry point of your system? Like, where does it all begin?
It all begins when so there's a cron job, or let's just say a job that takes care of when the crawling should begin. So when that triggers, then we do a crawl. And okay, I did not add this, but since we have like a last time of crawl, we can always check that and make sure, okay, the last time we crawled was like a day ago. Do we need to crawl again? And then we crawl. So the main entry points would be um the cron job.
Okay, so is it that the okay, so I'm curious as to, like a cron job will basically run some scheduled process at some specific time, and it's
Yeah.
supposed to do that repeatedly, right? So for instance, for a crow, let's say your cron job has decided that it has to run like a crow at this specific time. When like is there what stops the crawling process such that the cron job can execute another time?
W's in the shot. W's in the shot. W's in the
Okay. I don't think I get the question. If you could like come come again.
Okay, so I'm seeing that y- um I'll explain this. But yeah, basically, your process is starting. A cron drop is initializing your crawling process. So
Yes.
a cron job decides that maybe at 12 o'clock every single day is supposed to run, right? And it's
Okay.
supposed to crawl. Um, and then the cron job begins. So today's the first day. It has started crawling. So maybe opens like
Okay.
Wikipedia slash music, finds other links. It goes through the entire process. Um, what I'm curious to know is uh,
Okay.
is it that the process is just going to continue forever? When
Okay.
is
Okay.
the process stopping so that the cron job executes again the next day? Because cron jobs are usually for
Okay.
execution of like periodic processes.
Yeah, I get it now. So when it stops when this queue, the I don't know, like it stops when the queue is empty, but it starts when the scraping. So in as a way of like making it that like okay, I can introduce different ways of starting it. The first one would be when there's like a last call, a last call time has passed, then we start crawling, or when there's a there's something in our queue. So that would be what to that's what it needs to even start the crawling, right? So it stops when the queue is empty. Just to um just to cut it short. Does
Uh,
that answer your question?
okay, yeah, I get what you're trying to do. Yeah, I get it.
So I mean, the queue effectively runs infinitely as long as our 3 billion CDRs are not exhausted. That's what you're trying to say.
Um so I think I mentioned during the okay, well, from what I just said, that's what it means.
Okay, perfect. George, go ahead.
Yeah, so I want to ask if your design took into consideration cyclic paths. So let's say you start from the C URL, you find something, a link, and then you find another link down the line which points to a link you have already seen. Like, how do you deal with the conflict? And also, okay, I'll finish answering this one, then I'll ask like the next one.
Okay, so I think during when I was like I added this. So if so there's this, even if we go to the same link, when we get the content of the page that's like the full HTML, when we hash it, maybe like I'm really blanking on the exact word, but I'm just going to use hash. So like we are expecting the hash to be the same for every single page that is the same, right? So if the hash is the same, then we don't skip it. We don't like go there again. We don't get that content again. We just skip and move on.
Okay, so you are using the content as the hash and not the link. So what was the thought process going with like the content and not the link, like the URL itself?
Okay. Also, there can be like multiple. So I can have there can be like multiple aliases of like a link that go to the same page. So if we are just looking at just the URL, then we can end up having like 5 different URLs pointing to the same site, and we will scrape all those 5. But when we get
No.
the content of the page and it's the same, we can just skip over the extra 4 because we already have the same hash of the page for like the first one. Is that fine?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so my second question was I think Ernest like mentioned something like if let's say in the middle of crawling the system stops, how do we resume um the crawling from where we stopped? I was asking, wouldn't like keeping track of um the work you're about, the link you're about to crawl, like solve that?
Like so maybe in like for the entity you are actually storing in the DB. Yeah. So what if we just add a field and say like the next event you are going to do, just so, or maybe the current event you are doing, like wouldn't that like kind of also work as a map for the current work done?
Mm,
This question isn't to only you, by the way. Ernest can also answer.
I mean, you're right. Yeah, what I've been, that was part of what I was expecting to get judge. Not being honest. All right. I was just looking at. Well, I wanted to gauge how you would handle. I just wanted to tell me how will you keep track of where you've gotten to? If you're reading a book and then you go to sleep and you wake up, how do you know where you got to previously, right? You probably put a pencil in the book or something. I was looking for something along those lines, right? To, I mean, George, you're right. It does answer the question. If anybody
Okay.
else has to add. Anybody else? Question. Okay, so Jerry, Philippa says she wants a brief summary of what the system is doing. So if you can just,
Like, can you just take me from the beginning, like maybe in the diagram and how everything is connected? It doesn't have to be long, just brief. Sorry for.
okay. So the question was to design a web crawler for like crawling websites, and for the extra links on like a website that it's on, it should further crawl and keep going, right? So um first thing first is we are giving some CDURLs. So we add those CDURLs to a queue, and then for every URL from the contents we get, when we extract the text and we have some extra links, we add those to the queue, right? So we keep on crawling until we are done. The Something is coming up in my head right now, but I can add it. So yeah, so that's like basically what it's supposed to be doing. And the local DNS resolver you see there is just to prevent like extra network calls, because if we have if in the worst case we have 3 billion URLs, we can't keep going to like um an external DNS resolver all the time when we see like a URL, even though we've already scraped it before. So we have like the local DNS URL for that. And for the storage, we want to keep like the HTML, the content of the actual page, because that's what's yeah, because that's what will probably be processed by some other process, right? So we want to keep that as well. Um, yeah, and for the URL, we are really just storing like some metadata on it. I've written just ID and the last scroll time, but yeah, yeah. Does that give you a general overview?
Mm, I yes, but I have a question. Did was the interview like specific on what exactly we are, what type of links we are calling and storing, or it was just very vague? Um,
No, it wasn't specific. We just have
okay.
some URLs to call. There's no.
Also, how is your DB and your S3 connected?
So we okay. Um, so when we crawl, we get the content, we store it in S3. I forgot to add. Uh, can I edit? Just like it's just one thing. Um,
I think you can. Oh, you said like this is the final thing. I think you can.
Yeah, so we have for a certain URL, um, uh, yeah, for a certain URL, this is the need to store the URL itself. Uh, yeah, so for this URL, this is where we can get the HTML content, which is stored in some S3 bucket.
Okay. And then what about like the hot URLs and like the queue? I don't know if in your explanation to me you mentioned the queue, but I did hear you saying queue.
Yep.
When I
So
joined.
so the queue is just so that we can always keep track of what we are supposed to scrape next. And then when we remove something from the queue, we know, okay, we are we've we've already scraped it and we can move on to the next.
Okay.
And
I think personally I have little um a little thing with trying to tie the system together. That's why I'm asking you like what the components are doing.
yeah,
Um
I understand that.
yeah. But what about like the hot URLs? Are you like specifically single? I'm sure you've already mentioned this, but I'm sorry I'm taking you guys back. I just want to understand what's going
So the hot URLs, I was trying to find a way of keeping URLs that dynamically change or are very dynamic, so we don't always have to go to the DB to get those URLs to scrape. So it's like
on.
they will have like a shorter time that they need to be scraped again. So I'm like I was just think I should,
Any
yeah,
reason why it's called hot? Because me, I thought they were like the most, I don't know,
the most
search
scraped ones.
URLs or yes, script URLs. Yeah.
Okay. There's actually no reason
Okay.
for why they are called hot. It was just the first word that came to mind, and um,
Interesting.
um. Okay.
uh, yeah,
I
yeah,
think I
that's
asked a question. So
Yeah, I think another question I had, especially with regards to the queue, is, for instance, if um we are done scraping a specific site, how does our system know that we are done so that it can ingest like the next URL or yeah from like the queue to begin scraping?
um. So the way, so I'm using like so my idea of like this distributed queue would be something like maybe SQS. So for SQS, when I've forgotten the name, it's called something window. So there's like a window within which if something is picked up um and it doesn't reach and like it's done within that window, it's removed from the queue, right? So it's it's a matter of like when you are done, just remove it. I don't know if that makes sense. And okay, for um uh,
Yeah, I think that's exactly my question. Like you said, when you are done, just remove it. So like, how does it know it's done?
okay, so in this case, when it just picks it out, I, I actually don't have like a,
Yeah,
a solid answer.
let's be honest. How do you know you're done, right? Is there a boundary for
Uh,
you when you're done?
so
I'll just say you know you're done when there's no uh, extra link in the page. Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
To go further. Okay.
So
So as
to
you're calling,
so I would want to add like my components are actually really scattered. Um, let me. So I'm thinking of like adding um like a timer for each script, and adding that would bring like another problem of for a site that has more URLs, it means it will stop it in the middle. But like for to answer your question, Elias, I'm I'm thinking of like uh adding like a timer for each script, so that after that time, if hmm, and the question is, how do we know we are done? Uh, okay.
I mean, I like for instance, I feel like we can approach it a few ways. Like for instance, you know, let's see, for a script to happen, you fetch the content, you fetch other links, and maybe you add the links to the queue, you save the content to S3, and then you update your DB. So
Yeah.
once like a DB update happens with the URL, the link to the S3 content, blah 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 blah, that means that for that specific link, we finished scraping all the links we found during that script. We added it to the queue, right? So we can then like we can send like a trigger from the DB back to I don't know if it's the queue or the set like a server itself that will basically say, oh, this process has finished. We can ingest like the next URL from the queue. Like I don't know. I feel like if that was how I was envisioning like maybe like a done sequence and like a next injection to happen.
Okay. Yeah. I yeah, I understand. I think it would be better if we do it like directly to the server, so that it knows, or the group of um web crawler instances to know, okay, I need to pick a new one. Okay. Yeah. I kind of understand. Should I add that?
yeah. I mean, does anybody else have any other questions?
Yeah, I have one more. Just I have one more question. So I know we tackled failure parts or midway script, like your midway a script, and then like maybe the server goes down or something. But what if during your script you found bad links or links that are good links, but maybe at the point of the script the website was down, so it didn't even begin scraping in the first place. Like how how are you handling that, or how's the system handling that basically? Yeah.
Bad links. Hmm. Mhm. To be honest, I uh, I so my brain is like just blank. You can